I think it was about 10 or 15 years ago. My sister and I were at my parents' house, and uh, we had a dilemma. There weren't really any snacks in the house, and so we decided that we were going to go out and get some snacks. And before we left, I asked my dad, hey, Dad, do you want us to get anything for you? And he said, oh, yeah, get some Ridgies. And so if you don't know what Ridgies are, they are potato chips. And some people would say the best potato chips that exist. And that somebody is my dad. He really likes Ridgies. And so, back then, it wasn't a guarantee that they would have Ridgies everywhere. Sometimes they had them, and sometimes they didn't, and they stocked in certain stores and not others. So I asked my dad, well, if they don't have Ridgies, then what should we get? And he said, oh, no, just get the Ridgies. And I looked at my sister and I was like, and I looked back at my dad and I said, but what if they don't have the Ridgies? He said, no, just get the Ridgies. And so we started to laugh, and we said, okay, we'll get the Ridgies. And I was thinking about that this morning because last night I was talking with an old mentor and friend of mine who actually happens to be a Shambhala teacher, and we were talking about a group that he's going to be leading. And the book, the content for the group that he's going to be leading, it's a discussion group, is a collection of koans. And so in their tradition, they don't do koan practice. So we were having a chat about that. And the title of the book is Bring Me the Rhinoceros. And it refers to a koan that includes that line. So let me read to you the full case. And this koan actually reminds me a lot of Bring Me the Ridgies, or Get the Ridgies, just get the Ridgies. So one day, Yanguan called to his assistant, bring me the rhinoceros fan. So apparently, Yanguan's monastery was pretty close to the trade routes in China that were part of the Silk Road network. So all sorts of interesting things, items came from west east, and I guess somehow a fan that was made out of rhinoceros tusk or something wound up in their monastery. So Yanguan called to his assistant, bring me the rhinoceros fan. And the assistant said, it's broken. And Yanguan said, in that case, bring me the rhinoceros. Just get the Ridgies. Koans, I've said before, are these sort of like artificial problems that teachers give to students with the intention of creating a growth opportunity. And, sometimes life just sort of gives us these growth opportunities. We encounter a situation where maybe what's being asked of us by life is not something we can provide, or the normal way we might respond to a situation is not possible. Like the item we need is broken, or the thing we know how to do normally is just not feasible or workable. Or even the idea of who we are as a person, we just don't think we can show up and do what needs to be done. Like there's something intrinsic about us and our concept of who we are that limits what we might be able to do in that situation. And, in these moments, when we face these dilemmas, it can be really jarring. What do I do? Life is asking me to do this, and the thing that it's asking me to do, I can't do, or the item is broken, it doesn't exist. Like, what do we do now? And then life doesn't care. Just says, well, just bring me the rhinoceros then. Got to do something. Language is funny. It's the way that we connect, because we all live in our own little universe, and no one can really understand or experience your life exactly the way you do from your perspective. It's a physics problem. The closest you can get is like your head next to somebody, but you can't like get inside somebody's experience. So language is kind of this thing that's evolved as a way of helping us to almost like peek over the wall a little bit and give each other approximations of what's happening in our own worlds. But it's not perfect. And there are consequences to using language. As soon as you label something, it changes the thing. It actually makes it two things. So like, there's this, and then if we call this a bell, it changes it. Now it's also a bell. And bells are used for ringing. And then if you get used to relating to this thing as a bell, you forget that it's also, hollow. So you can like use it as a container, or like it could be like a cool hat, or it's metal. So you could melt it down and turn it into something else. Like the name is not the thing, and the name is not in the thing. So Zen teachers and koans and in life, when you might encounter them now, use language in funny ways too. They don't use it in the normal way. And in this koan, Yanguan is asking his attendant to bring him the rhinoceros, asking him to transcend what he knows and who he thinks he is, and to come forth and respond in a different way. So what do you do when life asks you, bring me the rhinoceros then? When the rules don't apply anymore, when you don't even really know who you are in that situation or if you can do it, when you have a choice to either stay stagnant, avoid it, or grow, what do you do? A little while back, I was talking with someone who used to be, for a time, an assistant to Bernie Glassman Roshi. And they were telling me about a situation where they were helping Glassman Roshi get ready to do a talk. And the venue where the talk was going to be was, the front door was open, but the assistant, when they got there, found that the conference room was locked. And they did all the normal things you would do. They tried to call the building superintendent. Nobody answered. They tried to call their contact person for the center. They didn't answer. It was really early in the morning. And lots of people were about to arrive, including Glassman Roshi. He's a big deal. You don't want to let him down. So the rhinoceros fan was broken. And life was saying, well, in that case, bring me the rhinoceros. So luckily, this person, this former assistant of Bernie Glassman, had been with Roshi Glassman for a while. And if you know anything about his reputation, he liked to, at the last minute, sort of change his mind, just ask his students to do things in a much different way on spur of the moment. He kept everybody on their toes. So this assistant had some experience with having the rug pulled out from under him. So he took a deep breath and he looked at the doors, and he noticed that there were hinges on the doors, and the hinges were on the outside. And he also noticed that there was the pivots in between the hinges. And he looked around, and they were doing construction, and there was a hammer, and he realized he could bang the pivots out of the hinges and take the doors off. So that's what he did, and everything went off just fine. And in sort of thinking back to that event, he was telling me, I never thought I'd be a person who would break doors down. Didn't think I would even know how to do that. And I've never done it since. And it's a really nice example of, well, then just bring me the rhinoceros. Come forth as something other than you think you are. And also coming forth, and reality coming forth through you, not as a deliberate act, but just something happens and you spontaneously respond. The self receiving and using the self, as Dogen might say. And my guess is you've had experiences like this as well. Maybe problems that you've really worked on and tried to figure out, and then just maybe out of exhaustion let go, and then it just sort of comes to you from somewhere beyond, not your rational mind. Or maybe a situation presents itself in the moment, and the thing you normally do, which normally works, just doesn't. I remember recently there have been a couple of times when I've been meeting with a client and I say something in a manner that to me would normally express kindness and compassion. And what was reflected back is that person started to become upset and say, stop patronizing me. That's really cruel what you said. And I was like, whoa. Rhinoceros fan is broken. So I had to come forth in a different way. I had to find a way to be kind and compassionate in a different way. So I love this koan. I think it's just a really wonderful koan. Because, these moments that are that really catch us off guard and demand us to go beyond our little concept of who we are and what we think we can do, that's the place where life is really vital. It's uncertain, and we really need to let go and become one with the situation. And when we do that, things can happen that we could maybe never even imagine would happen. We're banging pistons out of hinges all of a sudden. Who knows? The practice we keep coming back to over and over again is letting go. And it's letting go of who you think you are, who you think I am, who and what you think the world is. It's like getting beyond the concepts. Getting beyond this is a bell, so that we can really sort of be with reality as it is. Because the rhinoceros fan is going to break. Who are you and who will you be then?